What's up, friends? Welcome to KansasNation.com. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. That is Dan Courtwright. I am Sean Kellerman. Thanks again for watching us online and, of course, listening on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Appreciate it. Dan, we got a lot to get into, but first, have you noticed anything that's felt different about our studio today?
Did you dust the
do
desk?
a little 180 right here. Little 180 right here. We've got very, very cool memorabilia going up, obviously, in this new studio. Kansas Nation on Mass Street. Yes, that is, in fact, an old Allen Fieldhouse scoreboard that we're pumped to show for you here online. And, yeah, we're going to really be able to showcase this entire studio at some point. So looking forward to that. But, hey, we're opening talking Kansas City Chiefs. The big news today, Rashee Rice, 6-game suspension. We'll give you the details on that here in the opening segment. Then we're going to hear from KU offensive coordinator Jim Zebrowski next segment. Coach Z, somebody that I know, Dan, you've admired for quite some time.
Love him.
You know his son somewhat well, and his son, a pretty good football player as well. 4:40, we are going to be joined by the California kid himself in the flesh, Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal-World.
Will he be giving us party tips?
I hope so. He won't be providing any buffalo wings, I'll tell you that much. Does not eat meat, that Henry Greenstein.
No, he doesn't, but he knows how to party.
Yeah,
California.
He does. He does indeed. Hopefully he enjoys these nice couches that we've got for him. A little bit different than joining us.
Non-animal leather, by the way.
On the phone. But yeah, you get to see Henry, who, of course, joined us at Hy-Vee for our inaugural show on Friday. But back on his Wednesday schedule, he'll break down all things KU football, talk about KU soccer at volleyball as well. Top 25 teams we've got up and down the KU athletic department. 5 o'clock, KU Mailbag, as Dan says.
By the people, for the people, the KU Mailbag. You can keep on sending those questions at the Kansas Nation on Twitter. You can reply or DM us at the Kansas Nation on Twitter. You can ask us literally anything about KU basketball, KU football, food, dating advice, whatever you want. Be sure to ask those questions. You still have time to ask us questions. We're not going to do it until the 5 o'clock hour. Obviously, if you're watching this later, then you missed your chance. But feel free to keep on sending those questions all throughout the week for our KU Mailbag. By the people, for the people, one of our favorite segments.
Yeah, anytime throughout the week, again, at the Kansas Nation on Twitter. Make sure that you send your questions, and if we don't get to them this week, we'll get to them next week. KansasNation.com as well. You can keep up to date on all things KU. We got highlights, we got video clips, articles, everything you need on there. We're going to hear from JD6, the Magic Man himself, at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, and then we're going to close out talking a little Royals baseball as they defeated the White Sox last night 5-4, and I said to a couple of my buddies in a group text that was a really good not loss for the Royals because they were down 4-0, could do absolutely nothing offensively.
Is there a difference between a must-win and a can't lose?
A must-win and that is a really good question because you hear both of those all the time.
All the time,
right?
And they mean the same thing.
Well, needless to say, tonight is a can't-lose situation. I think if you're playing the White Sox, it's never a must-win. It's a can't-lose.
Yeah,
just because the embarrassment of losing to the White Sox. Earlier on, I'm sure you remembered in the summer, Dan, we broke down the Colorado Rockies, and everything was pointing toward them beating the Chicago White Sox, if you want to put it that way, in terms of being the worst MLB baseball team that's ever played. Again, you'll bring up the Cleveland Spiders here.
Yes,
but
Cleveland
the White
Spiders,
Sox.
I will not have their erasure on this show.
Still, 162-game season, the White Sox last year, the worst of all time. The Rockies, to kind of circle back, they are not that bad. They've only got 38 wins, but they're not going to have to deal with that in all likelihood. Granted, who knows? Bad teams can find a way to lose a lot of games.
We saw that with the Royals for many years.
Yeah, 56 and 106 back in 06. Don't remind me. And we're also going to get some KU soccer audio as well. Caroline Castans and Sophie Dawe spoke to the media yesterday, and they've got a massive match coming up tomorrow. KU is 3-0-1. They are battling against number 2 Florida State. Florida State coming in, a program with national championships. They're going to be loaded with talent, and it's the highest ranked team that KU soccer has ever hosted. So exciting for Nate Lee and company.
Yeah, and be sure to get out there tomorrow. They're doing discounted beverages. So get out there, pack the pack the park, I guess is what they call it. They've been doing this big promotion for it. The KU soccer team's really good. Nate Lee has been doing awesome. Reigning Big 12 champion head coach Nate Lee, bringing back a lot of talent for the soccer team. Right now they're They are ranked. So really, just get out there to Rock Chalk Park and support them because they need it and they are a lot of fun to watch.
You're going to hear Greeny actually have a question to the soccer players when he mentioned, hey, they're showing on social media, pack the park, right? It's a
Right.
little bit different than pack the booth, and all of a sudden they were like, all right, we got to come up with something for soccer. But KU Athletics is deciding that's going to be the phrase when KU hosts Florida State tomorrow. So if you're able to get out there, and I've heard there may be some deals or two related to beverages if you're
Yes.
able to go as a fan over at Rock Chalk Park. So excited for those girls and a really cool opportunity. Real quick, want to shout out Miles Schneier and Crown Automotive for their partnership helping make this happen. If you missed the show or any parts of the show, you can also find us on YouTube, Kansas Nation on YouTube. We're going to be uploading shows daily. Eventually, you're going to be able to find us on audio mediums as well, but YouTube is the place to go as we're kind of working through everything first couple weeks. But excited to be here in studio with our new Allen Fieldhouse scoreboard behind us. All right, let's get into it, Dan. Rashee Rice, we knew this was coming eventually, going to be facing a suspension from the league. It's going to be a 6-game suspension without pay for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Of course, a second-round pick back in 2023 really came on at times, and I think we all still think he can be a superstar and can be a top 10 wide receiver in this league. But in this case, he's going to miss the first 6 for KC in 2025.
Yeah, and like you said, we saw this coming. Obviously, they were trying to work it out to where he would do a 4-game suspension sometime in the middle of the season. That did not work out. So now he's going to be serving a 6-game suspension. He will be back October 19th against the Raiders. So he's going to be missing a few big marquee games. Going to be missing week 1, obviously, against the Chargers, week 2 against the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, week 3 against the Giants, the Ravens, the Jaguars, and the Lions. So you have the Lions, the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Chargers all in that stretch of games where Rashee Rice is going to be missing. There are a couple of silver linings here, right? Because you are going to get him back for week 7 against the Raiders. And then after the Raiders, week 8, you get the Washington Commanders, who, again, is a very good team with Jaden Daniels as well as Dan Quinn. They made it to the NFC Championship last year. Also, the Buffalo Bills are on week 9. So we are going to get Rashee Rice for the week 9 game against the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the Chiefs have had some issues with the Buffalo Bills in the regular season, not in the postseason, but in the regular season. So we need all the help we can get there. Like I said, some silver linings. Number one, he was issued 30 days jail time. If I was Rashee Rice, in my legal experience, which is none, I will say that he probably should just go ahead and do the 30 days in jail starting right now or at least week 1. Get it out of the way so you're ready to go so you don't have to serve any more time afterwards or whatever it may be. You're already serving the suspension. Just get it out of the way. Number 2, the other silver lining, the Chiefs went 13-2 last year without Rashee Rice. This has been going around quite a bit on the Twitter verse about how the hell did Kansas City win all those Super Bowls with the wide receiver core that they had? I mean, you look at the Kadarius Tonys, the Sky Moores, the Mecole Hardmans of the world. Juju wasn't that good, right? So I mean, he was reasonably okay when they beat the Eagles, but afterwards he was only fine. He's not a number 1 guy who you want to essentially put all your eggs into the Juju Smith-Schuster basket, right? You have Rashee Rice in your back pocket, who is presumably going to be your number 1 for this year. You also have Xavier Worthy, who I'm really high on, and some other pieces as well. But after the Chargers game, in the 4th game of the year, Rashee Rice tore his ACL on a pick by Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs went on to the Super Bowl without him. So they don't necessarily, and I don't want to say that we don't need Rashee Rice, because obviously having Rashee Rice is a much better option than not having Rashee Rice, but the Chiefs will be fine. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, all of those guys have done perfectly fine without a true number 1 guy. And you could even make the argument that Xavier Worthy right now is a true number 1 guy. So that is what I have to say about that. Also, another silver lining is that this gives Rashee Rice a little bit more time to recover after that devastating knee injury that he had last year. So that's what I'm really looking forward to is, hey, look, this is an opportune time for get the jail time out of the way, recover, and you'll be back for the Commanders and the Commanders and the Bills game after the Raiders game. So again, obviously not ideal. We saw this coming. 6-game suspension. It's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. I'm at least excited for the fact that we are going to have Rashee Rice for the playoffs. And at the end of it, because that's when you really need to start winning football games, is towards the end of the season.
Well, the one takeaway that I have from that, Dan, is you're a really big Xavier Worthy guy.
I am a big Xavier
I
Worthy.
didn't know that.
Now, okay, so yes, I've been wrong, by the way. I am like the opposite of a truth teller when it comes to the NFL draft. I was very upset when we picked Xavier Worthy over Keon Coleman, former KU legend, by the way. That obviously hasn't worked out for
You're thinking
Keon
of Jamar
Coleman.
Chase.
No, yeah, Jamar Chase, also
Both of
former
them, yeah.
KU legend, was committed for a day to Kansas. Very unfortunate that didn't work out. I don't know what Les Miles did to have him commit for a day, but he did it. And also, I was very upset when the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes over to Deshaun Watson. And
so stop trading with the Bills.
So stop trading with the Bills.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, all the Chiefs have done in those trades with the Bills has ended up with Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy.
Wound up working out.
Yeah, I'll take an opportunity here to kind of reset everybody on the Rice news. Articles out there everywhere, CBSSports.com, ESPN.com, and then I'll have you take a look at the depth chart, the wide receiver position. But one thing you and I were talking about before we came on, Dan, is the Chiefs were 15-2 last year,
yeah,
and the second loss was 38-0 to the Broncos when we had Carson Wentz, and I mean,
we
didn't play anybody. I mean, the Broncos fans obviously were. Basically, it had the whole league up in arms because people were saying you shouldn't sit your guys. Well, you shouldn't let us go 15-1.
Yeah, we did that on purpose because those big bad Cincinnati Bengals were going to get out of the playoff. Oh,
how did that end up working out? By the way, did they? Would they have gotten in?
I think
I can't remember.
So
that they would have had the Chiefs beating the Broncos. But the writing was on the wall that the Chiefs weren't going to have to play anybody.
Yeah, they were all up in arms like, oh, how could you do this? The people have been doing it for literally decades, sitting their guys whenever they've solidified a playoff spot. But that's another.
Yeah, and again, that being said, there is truth in the fact that we'll say 15-2 because that's what the record was.
Yes.
15-2. Chiefs didn't have Hollywood Brown. You didn't have Rice for the bulk of it. So you really didn't have anybody. Plus, Kelsey put forth the worst statistical season of his career since he's become, a full-time guy, going back to his first year or two in the league. And yet the Chiefs still did that. Yeah, they have a lot of young stars defensively. There's no doubt about that. Karlaftis, McDuffie and company, and obviously Chris Jones is still an absolute beast. But the Chiefs found a way to win, and number 15 is a big reason why. So I want you to look at the depth chart. The bottom line is, that being said, I don't think we can understate that it is going to be a hit because of the teams that you mentioned that the Chiefs are going to be facing. I mean, you would like to face teams like the Lions, the Eagles, and the Ravens when you're at full strength. And like you said, he'll be back, and there are good teams that the Chiefs will face after he's back, most notably the Washington football team. And and obviously you're going to have 2 against the Broncos. You're going to have the Chargers, and the Bills are on there as well. But yeah, Rice involved in a traffic incident back in March 2024. He and 4 other men leaving behind a Lamborghini and a Chevy that Rice was leasing at the scene of an accident without checking on the occupants of other vehicles. 2 of those occupants were hospitalized. 2 were treated at the scene. Rice pled guilty to 2 felony charges in the incident. And then, as you said, he was sentenced to 30 days of jail time and 5 years probation as a result. In regards to football, I know that initially there was conversations that this could be a double-digit game type suspension, ends up going to 6. So after that 6th game, the Chiefs will be at full strength in terms of wide receivers, we hope, moving forward. But yeah, not going to have Rice for those first 6.
Yeah, but obviously there's some other players who I think really can take a step forward. And in other Chiefs news, I mean, we've got the 53-man roster right here. You're looking at Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. Those are your top 3 guys. You're not going to have Rashee for those first 6 games. So next up is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster, who, by the way, is still on the roster. And then you have Jalen Royals, who is technically on the IR. I think that there's been rumblings about him being able to play week 1 against the Chargers. I don't know where he kind of sits on that right now. So there's some room to play with on that 53-man roster because a lot of people are asking for Mike Pennell to get back on the 53-man roster. Then after that, you have Tyquan Thornton, who has been the minicamp, the fall camp sweetheart, if you will, the Justin Ross of this year, if you will. By the way, I'm still not out on Justin Ross. I can't believe he's been
You
he's
have said Justin Ross's name more than anybody has ever said any athlete's name.
that cannot be true. I go back and watch that 2019 college football national championship and tell me that that guy wouldn't be a star. I don't understand how it didn't work out. Yes, I understand he broke his back or whatever, but that one still hurts me. I loved Justin Ross. I thought he was going to be a future All Pro kind of guy. But Tyquan Thornton, now he's the darling, the sweetheart from the from fall camp. So I'm glad that he made the roster. Then you have Jason Brownlee, who did catch a touchdown earlier in the preseason. You also have Nico Remigio, who is kind of the punt return, kick return specialist kind of guy, the guy who you want back there because you don't necessarily want Xavier Worthy or Hollywood Brown trying to return those kicks because you need them healthy for the wide receiver room. So those are the wide receivers that you have right now with Jalen Royals and Rashee Rice potentially not playing in week 1. Obviously, we know Rashee Rice is going to be out for 6, but Jalen Royals could potentially be out. There is some room to grow, and there's some room to kind of move things around. And looking at this 53 man roster right now, you got to think maybe Veach is cooking up some kind of trade to get some more weapons potentially for this offense. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, just with 8 wide receivers on the roster right now, a lot of them are kind of unproven, and you have Juju at this moment, at this current moment, the wide receiver 3. It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, it will be. And we didn't talk in detail about Tyquan Thornton when you mentioned him yesterday, but this is a guy who I was really high on when he was at Baylor. He's kind of bounced around the league
Oh yeah,
a little bit, so maybe he has a breakout ahead of him. But yeah, I agree. Wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs make some sort of move. Jalen Royals, we're all looking forward to the "Let's Go Royals" chant
oh,
at Arrowhead.
that
But
Chiefs jersey with the Royals on the back.
yeah, yeah. Again, very
Just
surprised
kiss.
that you were so out on Xavier Worthy. I remember when we were on air after
I'm
the
not.
NFL draft, you were not happy about that, weren't happy about the trade. This is a guy who scored 3 touchdowns against Kansas in a losing effort in Austin, 57 to 56. But yeah, he is a
I'm
real
happy about.
real
I'm
dude.
happy I was wrong. By the way, I'm
Yeah,
very happy that I was wrong about this.
man. But when you
I'm happy that I was wrong about Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes.
when
I'm
you get when
I was
you
high
get
on
Rice
Felicity
back,
Dike Uzama. That shows how much I know both.
when you get Rice back and have Rice, Brown, and Worthy, it would be nice to see how explosive this offense can be having those guys at the wide receiver position because we're hoping to get a better season out of Kelsey statistically, and time will tell. But the Chiefs' offense not quite what it was even these past couple years, right? Chiefs are
Right.
still winning.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to the AFC Championship game 7 consecutive years and counting, no matter what. But yeah, we love seeing points, and we'll have to see. But yeah, Rice out for 6 games. Chiefs, of course, open the season in Brazil against the Chargers Friday, September 5th. That's a week from Friday at 7 o'clock. Can't wait for that. After this, though, we're talking KU football. We're going to hear from KU offensive coordinator Jim Zebrowski. That's all next. KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. We are going to hear from Jim Zebrowski. And Dan, I'll let you comment on Coach Z. I know you're a big fan. How can you not? How can you not be a fan of Coach Z? Jalen Daniels, a guy who's been connected with him for quite some time. Of course, this is his first year as the offensive coordinator, Coach Zebrowski, but he's been quarterbacks coach his previous years at Kansas. And Coach was talked about in a very high regard by JD as expected. But JD also said his energy when asked about Coach Z being on the field or in the box, he could be in Alaska and you would feel his energy. I mean, and we see that at press conferences. And he calls a good game and a good start to him in his first time calling plays since the Guaranteed Rate Bowl a couple years ago.
Yeah, and this is the first time that we've seen Jalen and Coach Z actually be on the same page in terms of play calling and being the quarterback, right? We saw Coach Z call the game in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, but Jason Bean, he was the quarterback in that Guaranteed Rate Bowl. So now we get to see that chemistry with both of those guys, and I'm really amped up to see it. And again, like you were talking about, just talking with Coach Z, anytime he comes in, he just lights up a room, man. And he is so fun to talk to. just about anything, about football, about life, whatever it may be. He is a blast, and it makes sense. All the players absolutely love him. He's got that energy, and again, he calls one heck of a game, right? I mean, you're seeing a lot of different stuff. You're seeing 21 personnel, 13 personnel. You're seeing pre-snap motion with shades of Kotelnicki, right? I mean, you're seeing this stuff come from a guy who is an offensive mastermind, and I cannot wait to see what else he has in store, because he showed a lot on that film against Fresno State, and you got to think, with as guys as versatile as Cam Pickett, with guys as versatile as Emmanuel Henderson, and with a guy who's leading it all with all this experience like Jalon Daniels, you have so much stuff to play around with that we're going to see so much more out of Jim Zebrowski. So I'm really excited, and yeah, I mean, I can't wait to hear from him. This video is just, if you listen to him, you're gonna understand. Okay, yeah, I like this guy a lot.
Couple touchdowns to Cam Pickett, both out of 21. So good for Coach Z and KU football. And, of course, Pickett, the first touchdown at the new booth. Let's hear from offensive coordinator Jim Zebrowski.
Coach, just looking at last week, what stood out to you about the offense?
I was excited about us scoring early. You know, excited about a lot of people getting touches, which is huge, which is good for us. Excited about how we played the first half. I thought we got a really good start. Excited about, fired about Jalon playing well. Felt like they seemed comfortable and relaxed out there. And I thought we played physical. We had too many penalties, obviously. But I thought we were very physical, which is huge for us.
Looking at, go ahead.
What did you make of those holding penalties?
The refs called them, so they're holding penalties. No, there is. It's still, if you create, like Daryl always said, that don't create greatness. Don't get us in that position. We gotta have better hands and we gotta feet better. So, and if they're called, they're called.
Looking at the amount that Jalon ran, is that kind of where you expect it to be, and how do you balance, keeping him healthy?
I should know this.
I think he had 8.
Yeah, somewhere in the ballpark. I think every game's different. I think so for some moments, sometimes certain moments, it's situational sometimes. I think it's always going to be part of his game.
How do you balance, using him as a runner while also keeping him healthy?
Where do you think, crazy part is sometimes you take more hits when you're in the pocket. He took 2 probably hits that we got to take off of him in the pocket. Because usually when you're on the run, you got to have the ability to kind of to protect yourself and kind of slither through sometimes. The ones in the pocket can tough for him. So I think it's you got to balance a combination of the hits he takes. Hopefully, kind of minimize those, and hopefully minimize the pocket ones. So he's going to take so many goes.
What were your thoughts on Cam and his productivity?
It's great. And all those guys, it's fun to see those guys come. You never know what happens in that first game, especially new guys. And we had a good number of them out there do a lot of good things. But it's fun to see Cam. It's fun to see Cam with the yard after catch. That's obviously what we knew when you throw those kind of short routes and so on to make those plays into a 4-yard gain and a touchdown. So I was excited for Cam. We knew he had it. It was excited to see it.
Those plays that he scored on that RPO read out of the backfield, what makes him so effective in that type of role?
The guys like him, like Luke couldn't, we probably need all the time back there for those guys that are, I'd say slithery, but can get by a D line if there's there and maintain speed and then outflank the linebacker. So you want guys that can run, but have that running, almost have like a little bit of a running back instinct / mentality in them with a wide receiver type speed. That was always the key to him. But being able to avoid that first level so you don't get bumped off and get the linebackers catch up to you.
Seemed like some of your big plays came from great tight end blocking, wide receiver blocking. What did you think about those guys?
It was really fun. We got called, I think, once or twice out there, but it was fun. It's like you see those, because that's all that matters out there is like for those plays to go to 20, it's got to be the next level. So the tight end and the receivers did a great job. And like I told you before, a week or 2 ago, that's a selfless group. Now include the tight ends, they care a lot about each other. It's fun watching guys get as excited about making a block for their teammate as they are if they would have caught it. So I thought they did a great job, and we need to keep that going.
Go ahead.
How much of a focus was it for Jalon to get back to that short to intermediate throws over the middle?
I think it's always been part of me. We hadn't used it as much in the past, I guess. But again, me being a quarterback guy, you always like to see where you can get some off type things potentially, where you get things going a little bit, get guys in a good, people always say a flow or a rhythm. So I think it was, you kind of got him going.
DK showed a lot of different looks up front. As an offensive guy, like what does that do to you from a preparation standpoint when you have to prepare for something?
It's like what DK will probably say about our offense. Like not many things are going to surprise him. After practice, I told our guy to go, not many blitz packages. Unique thing, we're kind of surprised, and we still made a mistake or two on one of them, but we were prepared for it. But nothing's ever going to be a shock to a kid. Like, oh, I haven't seen that. I go, we've seen most of it. That helped us out a lot.
A lot of different guys got to play in the fourth quarter. What can that do for those players if they got a taste of that?
I think it's there's nothing like a game rep. The only part of the game where I was frustrated in was the fourth quarter when we didn't get that one first down, which would have been early in the fourth quarter. Maybe score early and even get those guys to play more. I was frustrated not because we didn't score, but because like hoping to get those guys even more reps, because you know as a coach how hard those guys work. And it gives guys like in my position, Cole and Isaiah more reps. It gives Johnny and Stu more reps, and all the receiver guys, Tate, and all the Bryce, and all those guys more reps. So it's great that they got some. I wish they would have got more. The way the game kind of turned out, you never know how it's going to happen. You never know how those games happen. So you get those moments, you just hope they can maximize it for the game.
When you get it, go ahead.
What stands out to you about Wagner?
Game 2. I got it next week. I'm gonna say game 3. I think it's what stands out for me is it's their first game, so you don't have any tape on besides last year. And there's new coordinator, new position guys, so that's the unique part about it. So it's like it's that uncomfortableness of like, you know what they do, and you see them last year on tape, and you study them, but you're like, you don't know. It's always fun to have that one. It's like Fresno. It's like having 2 back-to-back games. And I know those guys, me being at those different levels too, they're going to play their tails off. It's like a big-time experience for them, obviously. Our kind of stadium, so we have to be ready to go.
Short week, how the players bounce back yesterday?
That was good. It was good. I think it was a good obviously. You're never as sore after winning as you are after a loss. So I thought it was good. And we got, most guys got in that 55, 58 play range, potentially offensively. So I think it wasn't a ton. So I think they felt good. I bounced back. I think I'm excited about step 2.
But how important was it to bounce back considering all the excitement for week 1, the new booth?
Really excited. I think that's a good thing sometimes because what I hate to say what Nick Saban used to say about whatever, frat poison or whatever he said to that stuff, like, don't listen to how good you are or you think people are telling you. It doesn't matter. This is the game. So I think what's good for us as coaches is there's no chance. It was almost a less than 24-hour experience before they're back on the practice field. So I think that was huge. It's like you always got the 24-hour rule. We had like a 23.5-hour rule because we're back in faster because we're already meeting before then to talk about when you can prepare to it. Everyone, we're preparing like we would any game.
When you're in position to start rolling through the number 2s and number 3s and stuff like that, how do you weigh getting the number 2s prepared versus maybe getting a guy who's a number 3 a little bit more action because you might not get that later?
You don't. It's hard to sometimes. Sometimes you hope those guys got. I always tell guys, I go, mental rep, physical rep. You have to count them all the same in your brain cells. For kids, I go, you don't know. I can't get the 2 or the 3 at any position, and then reps to the 1, let alone the 3 or 4. So you got to be prepared because if your number does get called, we're going to keep rolling with what we do. So I think the big thing is those kids have done a really good job mentally preparing too, and watching videotapes, being prepared in case those moments come.
Emmanuel Henderson kind of drew that defensive pass penalty, and it looked like Fresno State was struggling to kind of guard him in single coverage. How valuable is that to have a play like that where you can, get multiple players at defend him?
Yeah, no, it helps. It helps when the defense knows you can stretch the field because they got prepared for it. Because now they got to say, are they going to put one guy on them? You're like, well, now they got to play the safety over top, which then takes another receiver open or takes one more guy out of the box. So I think it's always been a big part of any explosive offense to be able to have a guy or 2 that can stretch the field and blow the top off, because then the defense has to realize that at any moment.
Do you have any personal goals for your guys against Wagner? Anything you hope to see or improve on?
Penalties. Minimize penalties. That's a big thing. Finish. I didn't think we finished great. I thought we won. I was excited. Don't get me wrong. I was really excited. But like I said, that fourth quarter, that 4th and 1, finish that game and just you had them where they're. We always talk like can you break someone's will? Can you finish them? Yeah. It's like gosh, we could have had the moment. So penalties are huge. We had the 1 snap issue when the ball hit Doug going across. So those little things. That to me is the big thing is penalties because we were way too many times in first and 20s, and hence that produces a 2 for 10 on 3rd down type experience. Now we're good on 4th down. I thought we did a good job of bouncing back a lot, but I don't always want to have to bounce back from 1st and 18. But that's the biggest thing is penalties, keeping us on track.
A lot of the tight ends had a lot of play. What did you see out of that tight end room?
It was fun. What I was hoping to see a bunch of versatility. I think Carson probably more reps, I think, in the rep count. But I was excited about all the versatility they showed, being able to get in the backfield, being able to be in a tight position, being able to line up the receiver. I'm excited about that group.
You guys went for it a couple times on 4th down.
Yeah.
What's that process like? Do you find out on 1st down, like, hey, this could be a 4-down situation? At what point do you have that conversation?
Yeah, I'll rep that. Like with the new analytic types, a lot of times it's right out the like drive starts. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Sure.
But you got some parameters potentially, and then you're just always prepared for it. So what it does is it produces you in practice to have those calls ready to go. Back in the day, it was like I went for it once, maybe twice. Now it's like you never know how many times. So you have to have this 4th down package ready to go.
And as a play caller, how does it help you on 3rd down, knowing, hey,
does.
I get to call this play knowing that I could potentially.
Yeah, it gives you some flexibility. Sometimes it also, I've always told people this. This is a joke, but I'm being a math major, like analytics. Like I was joking when I was at Lakeland, we went for it 17 times we won in the Whitewater game back in the day because we had to. So I guess I was way ahead of analytics before they started. But what you got to be careful at is always trying to play for a number and not playing for the 1st down or for 3rd down. So that's the one little balancing act people have sometimes, because the numbers, if they tell you that you got this much distance, well, some people, then you're always trying to play for that number. What I always want is you got the balancing act. Yeah, sometimes. But also you want to play for it to get a 1st down on 3rd down. So that's where I think that's where it's been really fun knowing, being comfortable with Lance, knowing Lance so well, kind of idea what's happening, and being able to have that balance of going for also sometimes getting in a situation where you have a chance to go for it.
That's KU offensive coordinator Jim Zebrowski speaking to the media a couple of days ago. KU 31-7 over Fresno State week 0. Yeah, they scored 31. Probably could have hung half 100 if they really wanted to. But hey, they're 1-0 before they take on Wagner in a couple of days. 6:30 kickoff Friday. The Jayhawks and the Seahawks in week 1. After this, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal World. You're watching on KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to KansasNation.com with Dan Courtwright. I am Sean Kellerman. Hey, we're going to be joined by a very special guest now to talk all things KU. Fresh off his longboard down Massachusetts Street is Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, LJWorld.com. Henry, a fantastic insider for all things KU, and he knows everything you need to know about the state of California. That's where he hails from, talks about it all the time, and we're happy to have a taste of the West Coast here in the heart of America. Henry, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your work as always covering KU, and like we talked about all summer, now we get to talk about a game, right? And there was a lot of build-up with the new booth. What was your favorite thing, and what was your biggest takeaway from the Week 0 win over Fresno?
I mean, I was really excited to see how enthusiastic all the fans were in the new stadium, just checking everything out that it had to offer. That was really fun. It got incredibly congested on that west side. It was not easy to walk around down there. But, as for the game itself, I mean, I think you put it well. It's nice to finally have some real game action to talk about. Went far too long without that. And I think on the whole, like as Lance Leipold said earlier in the week, kind of what you would hope for from a season opener, a sense that it was a decisive win, a good one, but also with just enough things to talk about that a coach can still say, hey, here's what you need to do better. And there are certainly some things we can hone in on ahead of the Wagner game to discuss and see if KU can improve them.
And, looking at all those new pieces on the offensive side of the ball, that skill position, something we've been talking about all offseason as well. Cam Pickett got in the end zone twice. We also saw Le'Shawn Williams get in the end zone. Keaton Quebeca, program guy, got in the end zone for the first time. What did you see out of those skill position players who were new to the program?
Yeah, I think it was really impressive to see how their chemistry with Jalon is almost better than the longtime guys was at the beginning of last year. You think about the Lindenwood game at the start of the 24 season, and Jalon throws that pick because he has a miscommunication with Luke Grimm. Regardless of whose side the chemistry was better on, it was much better from Jalon overall. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. His 2 incompletions, one's a drop by Hanukkah. The other one, despite getting crushed by guys from both sides, he still put it right where it needed to be for Henderson in the corner of the end zone. So it was promising sign to see that he already has a rapport with all those players, even though they haven't been in the program for very long. In some cases, only for 2.5 months in terms of guys who came during the summer. But yeah, on the whole, Cam Pickett, you can already see a glimpse of how useful he can be how much he can provide. I like that they lined him up in the backfield. We know when he was at Ball State, he carried the ball, I think, 17 times last season.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that continue at all. Wouldn't be surprised to see them put Henderson there, too, because he's got the speed to be a real weapon in that position. And, yeah, Le'Shawn Williams, I'm not totally sure we'll see him Friday against Wagner with Leipold calling him questionable to doubtful. Sort of feels like this would be a game where you rest him and give Johnny Thompson some run as the second back. But certainly you can see he too is a bona fide starting caliber running back as well as Highshaw, and they could be really dangerous out of the backfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it all starts with a fellow Californian, Jalon Daniels. I imagine you guys probably grew up in the same cul-de-sac out west. But let's talk about JD. 18 out of 20, 176, 3 touchdowns. His 2 incompletions were a dump off to the flat that Hanukkah dropped, and then an unbelievably accurate pass when he was under duress. So he played about as perfect as you can, quick, decisive, throwing on the money, everything you want to see, especially in the first game.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of last year, even when Jalon was playing really well, there'd still be a pass or two per game where you'd struggle to understand the decision-making process, or he'd throw it and it would be a drop interception or something like that. This was a bona fide 90% completion percentage kind of day for him, and I think we'll see more days, maybe not quite at 90, but we'll see more efficient days like that ahead this season. I thought it was extremely impressive. I think that Keaton Kubeka play was a good example because you could see him patiently go through his reads, and credit to the O-line for giving him enough time to do that. But it seems like Keaton was probably the third read on that play, and he did a really good job waiting for that to flash open in the middle of the field. So far, in this very small one-game sample size, it dovetails with everything we've heard about Jalon being ready to take his game to yet another level this season.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, to me, it looked like his decision making was a lot better than last year. Last year, he's trying to play hero ball, just trying to force the big play. And now his decision making, now granted, it's small sample size with one game, but still virtually perfect. Henry Greenstein from the Lawrence Journal World and KSports.com joins us here in studio. And Henry, I have a question about this Wagner game, because obviously Kansas opens up 46.5-point favorite. It's huge. They're an FCS opponent. We know that Kansas was a team who was receiving votes in the coaches poll for the top 25. What does Kansas need to do against Wagner in order to be even put into the consideration for being in the top 25? Do they need to just hang 1,000 on these guys, or what needs to happen in order for that conversation to actually happen against a Wagner team?
I mean, you exaggerate, but I think it would have to be something like that. And that's not a knock on KU, but I think that the Fresno State and Wagner combination, especially with Fresno State being in their first year under a new coach, may not be enough to move many voters who still don't know much about this team, frankly. I think something that I observed throughout the offseason when kind of regarding the national perspective on KU is just because there are so many new players, I don't think that there's a very educated perception of them out there compared to like what we see here and having gotten to know these 40-something newcomers. I think that KU needs to have a big statement win, like against Missouri or something, to really put itself in the conversation for being a top 25 team and to get the attention of the people who mostly know about the team that has Jalon Daniels and Daniel Highshaw on it.
Well, let me kind of piggyback off that, because we're probably not going to be giving our fans quite as many stats and as many names as we will for any other KU football games this season for an FCS opponent. And like Dan said, people think KU is not going to have any issue taking care of that. What are the challenges for Coach Leipold and the coaching staff? Yeah, you can say short week. It's one fewer day. You got to adjust the schedule a little bit, but it's only the second game week you've had. But going into a game where pretty much everybody thinks it's a understood thing that you're going to win, and also, hey, we got to make sure we stay healthy. We don't want to show anything on tape that moving forward some future opponents could see. What are some other challenges that this provides?
Yeah, I think this would be regarded as a textbook look-ahead situation, just coming between such an emotional first game and such a soon-to-be emotional third game. But at the same time, I think that one thing that has been really impressive about Leipold and his staff during this time is that they have kept the team pretty even in adverse situations, especially the second half of last year. I feel like his record in bye weeks shows that they can adapt to unusual scheduling and do well coming off like a short week like this. I think they have the ingredients in place to maintain their focus. But yeah, it is tough because, I alluded earlier to maybe sitting Le'Shawn. you don't want to do anything to jeopardize your players' health, but you also want to treat this with the level of intensity that any football game deserves. It's a bit of a quandary, and I don't think KU necessarily needs to have its 22 best players out there on every single play in order to beat Wagner, nor does it need to scrape the bottom of the barrel in terms of its playbook to like bring out the most obscure things possible. But you don't want to be so bland that you find yourself in a situation where the game is actually in some kind of jeopardy.
And I kind of wanted to go off that point that you just made. Who are some guys that you're going to be looking at for this Kansas squad? Because obviously this, to me, feels kind of like, okay, we're going to feel out a lot of guys to see how they actually react in game. Who are some names that you're looking at right now who might be on the 2-3 deep who you think are really going to show up in this game?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dan. I mean, I think you could go a number of different ways with that. The first one that came to mind was Dean Miller, not because he's not a proven player, but because he missed the first game. Like, you want to see what he does with his first taste of game action this season, and if he can kind of retain the high level of play that he was at towards the end of last year. But then you can also go a direction of someone like Johnny Thompson, who I alluded to earlier. You know, he hasn't really gotten extended action. He got a couple carries in the last game, and couple more against Lindenwood in the first game last year. But if indeed Le'Shawn Williams doesn't end up playing, considering that they don't want to have Daniel Heisha out there taking 30 carries in a game against Wagner, you have to feel like it would be a pretty healthy dose of him and Harry Stewart. Beyond that, I think about the offensive line continues to have some intrigue. I feel like there's still room to feel out who the right combinations of guys and which ratios between their amounts of snaps they want to do there. Someone like Bryson Canty at receiver, who only played 4 snaps in his first game because he was hurt through a lot of camp. And if you look at defense, I mean, there's any number of ways you could go there. I think some of the people that we'd be interested in seeing are probably still going to be out. Like, if Joe Sipp had been back, I would have wanted to see him in this game. It'll be another test of Jalon Todd and Austin Alexander, who I thought were really impressive in the first one. And yeah, some of those depth players at safety. You know, a lot of guys with so many newcomers, but also like reserve players from previous teams who could potentially have a chance to get extended time in this game if KU is able to jump ahead of Wagner the way most of the world expects they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, KU's got a lot of talent on both sides, and defensively, KU had that first possession where they missed some tackles, gave up a touchdown, and then pitched a shutout after that. But there are so many good young players, particularly on defense. And you have Calvin Clements, who's a third-year sophomore on the offensive side. But I was thinking about this earlier today as a question I wanted to ask you, because there are so many names, and I'm not going to name them because I want you to do that. But defensively, a guy who's maybe first or second year in the program, or you could do the redshirt sophomores. We have a couple of those guys up front. Give me 2 guys on the Kansas team that you think in the future could be an all-conference performer. Like I said, I think defensively first for some of the guys you already mentioned, but there are a lot of guys who we don't need to just be excited about for this year. Future of Kansas football is going to be really bright.
Yeah, there's a lot of possible options there. I think the name that immediately came to mind, because it's been on everyone's lips for the last month or so, is Leroy Harris III. Kind of an obvious pick at this point.
That was going to be the first one I said, but I didn't want to say it if you were going to say that.
Which is honestly just crazy to think, considering like what little regard I would say the world at large had for him coming out of his first season. And I know he got some honors during his time at Chattanooga, but he was a rotational defensive end for an FCS team. I don't think anyone foresaw him starting week 1. Like, I know that's because Dean was hurt, but even so, he didn't look out of place, and he got a great sack. This is obviously someone, you know, you think about how much work he's put into the frame already and how much improvement he's had there, gaining like 15, 20 pounds. If he's able to continue to build his body in that way, the sky's the limit. So that's one that comes to mind. The cornerbacks I mentioned earlier, Todd Alexander and Jaleel Hurley, those are all young guys who are extremely highly recruited. And it feels like they've already demonstrated to the KU coaching staff enough that they trust them to be out there for long periods. It just makes one wonder what they can accomplish down the line. You know, for example, Leipold has already compared some of the things he tells Austin Alexander about nutrition and the strength program to what he was telling Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson at the same stage of their careers. I don't think it's too much of a stretch for him to develop into that caliber of player, and same with Todd. So those are some players. Trying to think of who else is among the youngest.
I know. I kind of said or third year guys because I had Blake Harold and Marcus Calvin on my mind.
Yeah,
they're the redshirt sophomores. But yeah, there's so much depth up front.
Those are good picks. I feel like Blake Harold has already arrived to some extent.
Yeah.
Calvin is a longer term deal because he was a rawer player coming.
Did you know he didn't have a barbell?
I've heard
Not
that.
a single barbell in his high school.
I've heard that one before. Yeah. And then like Dak Brinkley would be another choice at defensive end. John Kamara, I probably should have mentioned him earlier. Might be the best athlete in the program. That feels like it merits mentioning. So that's all on defense.
Right.
And then looking at the offensive line, you already mentioned Calvin, but again, kind of like Blake Harreld, I feel like Calvin's already there to being like a starting caliber player. And the rest is just gravy at this point. So yeah, I do think it was very promising on the whole for KU to have so many young players flash at this early stage of their careers.
Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World, noted Californian, joins us here in studio. And Henry, we heard from Coach Zebrowski in the segment before this. We're going to hear from Coach DK tomorrow. I wanted to stick with the defense, though, with Coach DK, because all offseason, I mean, it's been such a question mark as to what are we going to see out there? What's the front going to look like? What are the stunts going to look like? And he kept on saying the word simple. And as you look at that back at the film on that Fresno State game, it's anything but simple, and it was anything but vanilla. So I guess what were your first impressions of seeing Coach DK at the helm of defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think this is a contradiction that I spoke to on a few times over the course of this past month. But, I think that if you ask DK himself about that discrepancy, he'd say, well, it's simple to us because we're in the system and we've learned it.
Right.
I mean, that's basically, I think that's something Andy Kotelnicki would say about their offense when he was here, is that they're concepts that we know and that are simple to us, but we layer things on top of them to make them confusing for the opponents. And I think that's very much what DK is trying to do on defense. But I'm pretty sure Michael Swain was the one who said this, but like, who would have thought a guy who learned under a 3-3-5 defensive coordinator would like to have a 3-man front at some points on the field? Right. But I appreciated the wide array of looks that he trotted out there. I think it makes a lot of sense to put out 3 defensive tackles when defensive tackle is one of the strongest positions on your team, and you've got 5 or 6 of them who are really capable at any given moment. So we'll see if KU is able to kind of maintain its defensive integrity and stick to its assignments and alignment stuff with all the different ways they're going with things like that. I think it was probably even more multiple than I expected, especially for a first game against Fresno State. But at the same time, it didn't surprise me at all that DK had some tricks up his sleeve when it came to the defensive front.
KU football 1-0 after a 31-7 victory over Fresno State in Week 0. Friday night, 6:30. And Henry, before we get you out of here, we need to ask about KU volleyball and KU soccer real quick. KU volleyball, they just faced the number 2 team in the country, and KU soccer is about to face the number 2 team in the country. But volleyball loses in 5 sets. It was one of those matches that you hate because you could have won, but also you're proud. But we saw so many different girls filtering in and out. Then even we did a couple of days prior against Vanderbilt, which was a 5-set victory for Kansas. Matt Ulmer trying to figure out which position groups work best and who works best together.
Yeah, I've been fascinated by Ulmer's approach to these first 2 matches. When he met with the media earlier this month, shortly after the preseason honors, he basically said that he was honored that they had received these various things, but he didn't know what his lineup was at that point. It kind of feels like he still doesn't know exactly who he wants to put out there. I do think this Penn State match probably gave him some concrete ideas that players like Selena Laban and Ryan Swanson need to be out there more often. I think they outperformed kind of their counterparts at outside hitter from the Vanderbilt match. And then, of course, you can't ignore the play of Katie Dalton. That's where I feel he has a real quandary.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you bring over Kristen Klein, who was excellent as a redshirt freshman at Oregon last year and will likely continue to be excellent this year, but Katie Dalton had a truly wonderful performance against Penn State that definitely outstripped the quality of Klein's against Vanderbilt. It's such a small sample size, though. Like, you can't make season-long decisions based on these 2 matches, even if the Penn State one was so striking in terms of how KU went blow for blow with them.
And how about Dalton being a senior? Her first career start is against Penn State, ranked number 2 in the country, and she completely answers the call.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was really impressive, and they got a third setter too, and Ellie Moore, by the way. So a lot of depth there, but I don't see KU going to a system where they have 2 setters out at the court at a time, even though that is something some teams choose to do. So I am just fascinated to see, especially with so many other matches against really good teams on the horizon, how Ulmer approaches this.
Yeah, and one note about KU soccer: 3-0-1, and they get Florida State at home, the highest ranked team that has ever come to Lawrence. Athletes all over the place. KU top 25 caliber for sure. What do you expect tomorrow, 7 o'clock at Rock Chalk Park?
Yeah, it was funny trying to write about Florida State because you look at their roster. I clicked on someone. I was like, oh, that's cool. She was on the U.S. under-20 women's national team that got third place last year. And then I was like, oh, what am I going to write about this next person? And I clicked on it. Oh, she was also on the like they had 3 preseason All-Americans, one first, one second, and one third team who were all on the U.S. under-20 women's national team that took bronze at the World Cup last year. So an immensely talented team. I really like the way Nate Lee put it about you might not beat this team 5 out of 10 times, but like they got to do the best they can to get that 1 or 2 or 3.
Right.
It'll be really, really interesting. This is a team that's built to play against high caliber opposition, as we saw at the end of last year. And I think that Nate will have his ladies ready to go.
Man, it's so much fun. Fall sports are here. KU football, volleyball, soccer, all either in the top 25 or on the cusp of the top 25. Go to KUsports.com, LJWorld.com. Our guest, Henry Greenstein, has great write-ups on all those sports. A great insider here at KU. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we've got KU Mailbag. Plus, we're going to hear from Jalon Daniels and some other Jayhawks. You're watching KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com at ESPN Kansas City. Sean Kellerman, Dan Courtwright, and our producer-engineer Gabe Boucher here for you at our new Kansas Nation studios on Mass Street. We are very excited, not just for the Allen Fieldhouse scoreboard behind us, but we've got pretty awesome memorabilia around here, and really, really happy that we get to be a part of this. Shout out to Miles Schneer, Crown Automotive. Miles and all of the partners over there are a great sponsorship, and really appreciate their help getting us on air. Dan, one of our favorite segments every week is our Wednesday KU Mailbag segment. Find us on Twitter at The Kansas Nation. Twitter's the best for us, so send a question, comment, whatever you would like us to speak about, and we will answer it on air. You always say we'll answer it to the best of our ability. I don't know that that's accurate.
It's always to
we
the
will
best
answer it
of my ability. Well, yeah,
okay.
To the best of our
I guess
ability.
It's just
I mean,
me, then.
sometimes
we will
there are,
provide an answer.
Right. I mean, we got a question one time of it was how many cheese balls could you fit inside of a Pringles can, and I answered that to the best of my ability. I didn't. I had no testing to prove it. I gave a
that was
rough
a loaded
answer.
question though, because if you smash all the cheese balls, then theoretically you could get a lot more, right? And there was no ground rules on the cheese balls have to still be in their ball form, or can they all be crumbs?
Yeah, there's a lot of different answers.
It
to
leads
that
to
question.
fantastic conversation.
That's what I mean when I say we'll answer to the best of our ability, because sometimes you guys throw us a curveball. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and get it started with the KU Mailbag by the people for the people. KU Mailbag. Shout out to everybody for sending in their questions. On Twitter, we'll also put it out on Facebook and Instagram, working through a lot of the details here. But let's go ahead and kick it off with Tyler. Tyler asks a question. He says, what does it take to consider KU a Big 12 title contender? Interesting question. I don't think we know quite yet.
Being a KU fan.
Yeah, I mean, every year I go, oh, well, yeah, well, KU's going to win the Big 12, and they're also going to win the national championship, and I've been wrong every year. So,
I've asked you not to interject, but to interject. I've asked you this question before. Is it true that all you want in life is for KU to just go undefeated and win the national championship every year in every sport? And the Chiefs go undefeated, win the Super Bowl, and the Royals. Just everybody always does that, and then you're happy.
If that happens once, I can.
You never have to be upset. We were talking earlier this week about how the minute Kansas gave up a touchdown to Fresno State, I received a text complaining about the defense, who would then throw a shutout after, and it was just one of those football is back feelings because, man, sports fans are a different breed.
Yeah, no,
but
getting 7-7, you go, season's over. Yeah,
getting back to this question, it doesn't take me a lot to consider KU. Yeah, you don't have to convince me that KU is a Big 12 contender, but actually answering the question, I think probably you need to see some high caliber wins.
Yeah, I think so. And as of right now, we've only seen 2 other Big 12 teams play with Iowa State and K-State, right? And K-State lost in tremendous fashion to Iowa State over in Dublin.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah, I very much enjoyed it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that we haven't seen the other guys, right? Because we haven't seen what Sawyer Robertson can do leading the Baylor Bears with Dave Aranda. We haven't seen Bear Bachmeier and BYU, who is supposed to be really good this year as well. We haven't seen Sam Levitt and Kenny Dillingham in year 2 at the helm. So it's going to be interesting to see what these guys are able to do. We haven't seen anybody else except for Iowa State and K-State. Iowa State looked good. I like Rocco Becht a lot. I think he's a solid coach. I think Matt Campbell's a solid coach, but also KU's had Iowa State's number weirdly over the last couple of years. So, look, I think as of right now, it's too early to tell. Like we were talking with Henry in the last segment about what Kansas needs to do in order to be considered for the top 25. And I basically said you got to hang 1,000 on Wagner. You're not going to know until probably week 2, quote unquote, but game 3 against Mizzou, right? If KU goes in to Columbia and beats Mizzou, I think all of a sudden right there you go, man, this team, not only are they a Big 12 contender right now, they're probably in the lead for the Big 12 depending on what else happens in these non-con games for these other Big 12 teams.
So talking Iowa State, just because you brought it up, obviously they had no problem taking care of K-State across the pond.
Yeah.
I say that as they won by 3. But KU, like you said, has beaten Iowa State in football 3 straight years, which people might not remember.
Oh, I remember.
4 years ago, Coach Leipold's first year, they got us pretty good at Jack Trice, 59-7. But one thing, despite every great thing I've heard about Iowa State coaching staff, one thing that always irked me was the COVID season in 2020. Iowa State was leading Kansas by 23, and let's just say there was a reason that Iowa State decided to throw a bomb up by 23 late in that game, and they converted and won by 30. There was a reason they did that. I didn't like it. I remember watching it, and then they got us, like I said, at Jack Trice. But since then, KU's won 3 consecutive. But I've always kind of, I'm not saying that Coach Campbell is a bad guy or a bad coach, but I always have remembered that. And so now I take extra happiness in KU winning 3 consecutive. But yeah, I think, for KU fans, it doesn't take, what does it take to consider KU a Big 12 title contender? I don't know. A beer. It's not going to be. Right. It's not going to take a lot.
Yeah. As of right now, they're tied for first place in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Right. They're tied with Iowa State.
Yeah.
For total wins. So right now they're a Big 12 title contender. That's all I need to see right now.
Yeah. It's not going to take much. But no, realistically, if KU is able to go to Columbia and beat the team they're facing there, start 3-0, and then win their first 2 at home in Big 12 play, then yeah, you can start looking at the schedule and saying, okay, let's really dive in. But a lot of football to be played before then. Thanks for the question, Tyler. Ben, where will Joe Sipp fit in the linebacker core? I actually really like this question. I want to pick your brain on this too, because Joe Sipp, a guy highly thought of, and it's so interesting. We've lauded the new linebackers because we can just see from an athleticism standpoint, from a length standpoint, it's just different than what Kansas has had for quite some time, honestly. And we'll see how the likes of Bengali Kamara and Trey Lathan do come that game in a week and a half or come Big 12 play. But it's impressive, and you haven't seen Sipp yet. I don't think you'll see him based on what Coach Leipold said earlier this week against Wagner. But where do you see him fitting in?
Yeah, here's the thing. I like Joe Sipp a lot, and it all depends on what kind of rotation DK McDonald decides to put out there. I was happy with the way Bengali Kamara played. Very, very happy. We also have Jason Gilliam out there who was making some plays. Logan Brantley was making some plays. And then you had Trey Lathan as that other linebacker on the inside. So it all kind of depends on where he's going to kind of fit in. He's going to have to really make a case in this well, I guess he's not going to be playing this Wagner game. He's really going to have to make a case in this Mizzou game. It's going to be interesting to see how much rotation there is going to be in that Mizzou game, because with this Wagner game, with Joe Sipp being out, it's kind of unfortunate for him because he would have had a lot more time to get out there on the field and show us what he's got. Meanwhile, when you look ahead against Mizzou, they're probably going to want a solidified starting 11 on that defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how much he actually does get to play. Where is he going to fit in there? As of right now, I don't see him being a starter because I like the way that all of the linebackers played. I thought Jason Gilliam has really showed what he's made of, being a program guy and being able to step up into those shoes at that Hawk position. And then Bengali Kamara, just an absolute freak athlete. We've seen him produce at a high level in football, and then Trey Lathan as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I want more depth at that linebacker position. As of right now, I don't see him starting or even playing. Maybe I'd say maybe about 10 to 20% of the snaps in that Mizzou game.
Well, we'll see the transfer from Bowling Green, Joe Sipp, that people have spoke really highly about. Cole has our next question. Dan, I'm going to let you read this because this is very much a Dan Courtwright type
This is
question.
right
This
up
is
my
the type
alley.
of stuff you love.
It is. It really is. Cole, he asks, if there was a seeded bracket of all 8 billion people in the world to fight, what round are you getting to? And he actually did the math for us. So apparently it's going to take around 33 rounds to declare one champion.
I'm a pacifist.
I'm a pacifist too. I don't like fighting. I've never been in a fight in my life. But if it was, like your life is on the line, hey, we got to, you have to win this fight to the death. I mean, so, okay, imagine a 33 round bracket for all 8 billion people in the world.
So you would probably lose to anybody over the age of, what, like 11? Anybody
that's
under,
where I start to lose.
Anybody under the
double
age,
digits, you start getting into double digits in age. That's where I start losing.
Anybody under the age of like 83, you probably lose to as well.
83
But
is maybe my
11 and under,
lineup.
83 and over, you're probably good.
Right,
So that probably gets you a 1-round victory.
So that's the thing. If it's seeded, right? I'm a 27-year-old, reasonably healthy. I could probably lay it easy on the red meat and the booze, but a reasonably healthy 27-year-old man. So if it's a seeded bracket, then I'm probably going to be, up against somebody under the age of 11 or over the age of 83. Those are my lines right now. So I feel confident about going in the first round, right? I get past the first round. Second round is when it gets a little bit tougher, right? Then you start weeding people out. It goes down by half.
Second round, you're probably facing a teenager, right? You probably get a teenager or somebody who's like in their 50s or 60s.
Teenagers scare me, by the way. They can be scrappy. And again, if it's seeded, I don't know where the seeding is, and whoever wins that first one, they're gonna get to the second round. So I'm facing at least a second round talent. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to give myself, because I do feel this. I'm going to give myself 5 rounds.
Okay.
I go 5 rounds, and that's when I start to lose.
All right.
I don't think that's actually.
Can we do this question again and have it not be fight to the death?
Yeah, just a fight.
Not even a fight. Just something.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, I don't know, something like that. A fight to the death. That's a little rough.
I'm really good at rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, that's fair. You know who your girlfriend I would trust in a fight to the death. She seems scrappy.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. She's making it to round 18, 19. I mean,
she was an athlete, if I'm not mistaken.
She did. She played basketball and then at an NAIA. So
and chess as well. You and I both play chess, and we never talk about it.
That's
the weirdest thing that we have in common.
So if you did a chess tournament, my dad is going
I'm
to
sure.
round 30.
Yeah.
My dad is
friend of the show, CC.
Yes. Weirdly enough, he was like in the top 25 in the world, like 12 and under when he was a kid in chess. So little backstory on my father. Most dads like fishing, but my dad is super into chess. Power to him. He's really good at chess. Every time he never brought it up, but every time we play chess, he just steamrolls me. I've only played him like 5 times. Each time the match lasted like 15, 20 seconds. Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. If it was a chess match, Chris Courtwright, he's taking it most of the way. I mean, he's going to be matching up with Magnus Carlsen.
People would absolutely love watching you and I play chess for 2 hours one of these days. So we should consider that. I mean, that sells itself. Tyler wants to know, do we eventually see Jalon taking over the backfield, assuming his injury isn't serious? I'm going to say no.
No.
This is going to be at most for Jalon a timeshare, I would think. Hishaw is still going to be the bell cow, in my opinion. You see the distribution. Yes, you did not see Williams for the back quarter and a half, but Hishaw 13 carries. Williams had 6 against Fresno State. The bottom line is Deuce Hishaw is an absolute beast, and yeah, we're all cheering for Jalon. We're not going to see him, I would think, based on what Coach Leipold said against Wagner, but those two are going to be a backfield duo, so I wouldn't think that that's a possibility really at all.
Yeah, I think there's no chance. Look, and here's the thing. I love Jalon Williams. He got into the end zone. I think he's a good running back in his own way. I don't see the carries going anywhere near 60-40. I think the maximum it's going to be is around 70-30. Daniel Highshaw being the 70, Le'Shawn Williams getting the 30. Hopefully his hopefully his injury is not that bad, and he will probably be sitting out the Wagner game. I would imagine if he is available, he'll be very, very limited. But yeah, I don't see Daniel Highshaw giving up those reins. I mean, the progress that he has made over this offseason to be that number one guy and to be in this program for as long as he has been in this program, I think that's important as well. Being in the Leipold system, being in Zebrowski's system, having that relationship with JD, I think all of that's very important. And that's not going to say that Le'Shawn Williams is not going to play. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the distribution is probably going to be around 70-30 as of right now. Now, if Le'Shawn Williams were to be healthy, we might see more Le'Shawn Williams in this Wagner game. That's why this Wagner game is so interesting, is that we're going to be saying probably a lot of names who we might not be saying as much towards the back end of the season, right? I mean, we're going to be probably talking about Harry Stewart and Johnny Thompson and Bryce Cahoon and different guys, Mason Ellis, who, by the way, Mason Ellis is still a really good player. But it's going to be interesting to see in this Wagner game. And there are a lot of guys going back to the Joe Sipp thing. Joe Sipp, we probably would have seen a lot of him in this Wagner game if he were not to be injured. So I don't see a world where Le'Shawn Williams does take over. Now, granted, if Le'Shawn Williams, every time he gets the ball, he runs for 50 yards and a touchdown, sure. I would love for that to happen. I would be a big fan of that. I don't see a world where that happens. I think Daniel Highshaw is going to be the guy.
That being said, I think that you and I both agree that we are more confident with both of these guys being RB1s than we were before the game last week. I mean, Le'Shawn looked the part, for sure. So definitely understand the question. Hopefully both those guys stay healthy and they get a lot of run. What's next on our KU mailbag?
Yeah, Ben, he asks a question. He says, rank the top 5 Kansas athletic programs by proximity to perennial national title contender status. I like this question a lot.
Good question.
Guys, did Henry Greenstein ghostwrite this for him? By the way, a lot of big words there used by Ben. Shout out Ben Hook, writer for the UDK. So in terms of proximity to where they are in national title contender status, I mean, 1-1 overall, you got to go men's basketball, right? I mean, they've won it most recently in 2022. I think obviously with Darren Peterson in Flory Bidunga, good program, obviously. I mean, that's our flagship here at Kansas.
Are you sure you want to go?
I'm going to say great. I'm going to say I'm going to say fantastic. They've got a fantastic basketball program. I mean, this got to be number one.
I think
is men's basketball.
Yeah, I think the national championship pedigree. You have a Hall of Fame coach. There's no doubt that men's basketball is going to be a top. But you have a lot of coaches who are trending that way. And you know who else has a national champion coach is volleyball. Matt Ulmer, the youngest to ever win a national championship. He won it with Long Beach State beach volleyball.
That's right.
Back in the day. Then obviously indoor volleyball with Oregon. He had a lot of success, and now he's here. They're a top 15 team, and certainly football is on the cusp of the top 25. We think they can be a top 15 team.
So is football and soccer where are they? Because I feel pretty confident.
And baseball's up there too.
Baseball is up there too. They did make the NCAA regional. So it's men's volleyball, men's basketball, volleyball, and then it could be like soccer and football, because soccer is really good, and I trust Nate Lee and Sophie Dawe and Carolyn Castans and all of those players on that soccer team. But the men's football championship with the new format of being 12 teams, and KU, they could go on a run. They could win the Big 12 championship. They could potentially make a run in the CFP. So who knows, right? It's a little harder, I think, to win it in soccer. So I think maybe I put football over soccer at number 3, and then I go soccer 4, and then maybe baseball at 5, just because there's a lot of turnaround on the baseball team. That's nothing against Coach Fitz. I think Coach Fitz is an incredible coach, and he brings in talent consistently. But I think as of right now, baseball is probably at that 5. That's my list.
Yeah, I'm going to go with football at the 2, just because I don't think
volleyball.
People realize how close this program actually is, which is incredible to say, given where KU football was even 5 years ago. But basketball, football, that's a good place to be if those are your 1, 2. But Travis Goff, 5 coaching hires since he's been here. He's nailed every single one of them. And Matt Ulmer is going to be right there. He brings over some pieces from the West Coast and a great coaching staff. Almost clipped Penn State in the second match of his KU career. We know what Coach Fitz has done, setting one record after another for KU baseball, and obviously Nate Lee has his team in the top 25. So, yeah, it's a pretty fantastic time on the call.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jason, he asks a question. He says, who will be the offensive and defensive MVPs for the Wagner game? This is, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about, how interesting this Wagner game is, because we're going to be seeing a lot of Zeke Marshall. We're going to be seeing a lot of Cole Ballard, a lot of the younger running backs, right? We're going to be seeing a lot of rotation at the secondary, maybe even on that front line. My MVP for the Wagner game on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go ahead and give it to, let's see, I gotta do a little bit more thinking on this. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it to Levi Wentz. I think Levi Wentz is going to have a big-time game against Wagner. On the defensive side of the ball, go ahead and give me Logan Brantley. I think Logan Brantley is going to have a big game because I can see him getting in there with the 2s and the 3s later on in the game. So I can see him getting some pressure. I can see him getting some PBUs maybe. So those are my 2 picks.
Yeah, I'll give one offensive and one defensive as well. At the running back, well, let's start with the quarterback position. The Lindenwood game last year, you saw Jalen Daniels play half. And then pretty much KU had the game in hand at halftime, and they went to Cole Ballard. We saw Ballard. We saw Marshall. I think that's similar to what you're going to see in the game against Wagner if everything goes as planned, and hopefully it does. Hopefully you get out of there with a win and no injuries, that sort of thing, before you head to Como for that first road tilt. Offensively, I'm going to say Johnny Thompson Jr. He's right now the RB3 on this depth chart. You're probably not going to see LeSean Williams, so I think Thompson's going to get a lot of snaps. With that being the case, he will play the majority of the snaps in the second half. You might see Harry Stewart. We've had him on before with us, Dan, and we definitely have high hopes for Stewart, as we do Thompson. Really deep running back room, and also a really deep room for Kansas. Brings me to my defensive pick for the MVP of the Wagner game, and that's going to be Marcus Calvin. I mean, we talk about the defensive tackles. You know, we've been in fist fights, essentially. I speak metaphorically with Henry Greenstein, because he thinks the deepest position group on this team defensively is the defensive tackles. And I don't know if you agree, but I've always said defensive ends. Yeah. But anyway, up front, KU is very deep, and I think you will see a lot of Marcus Calvin, especially in the second half of this one. So there you go. 4 different Jayhawks for our picks for MVPs of this one.
Yeah, got a couple more questions here. Gabe, he asks, have Taylor and Travis thought about the tax implications of where they're going to reside? That's a very good question, Gabe. You know, that's Can
you specify? You didn't give last names.
Oh, sorry. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Okay. I know a lot of people haven't heard of them unless you're kind of local around here.
The football player and the singer.
Player, and then she sings. She was in the movie Cats. Have you seen Cats?
No, but she's in an episode of New Girl
She was in an episode of New Girl. Yeah. That's where you probably know her from. Yeah, it's a good question, because here's the thing: if this is Travis Kelce's last year, does he go to New York? And that's a lot of taxes, right? If you reside in either Kansas, I believe he lives in Leawood right now. I know that he proposed to her in Lee's Summit, in a beautiful garden out there over on the Missouri side of Kansas. I will say this: I will do a public service announcement just to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Live in Kansas, Missouri, don't need them, right?
We're going to have the Chiefs soon.
We're going to have the Chiefs soon. Arrowhead's going to be over here. The Royals are going to be over here. The weather's beautiful sometimes, kind of. Just don't want to spend don't spend your hard-earned money in the state of Missouri. I implore you to not live in Missouri. So live on the Kansas side. That's all I'll say.
I'm not sure on the tax side of things, but I would stress, and I know that Gabe, who asked this question, would agree, that they need to get a good financial advisor, make sure that they're taken care of down the line. Getting engaged, speaking from experience, Dan, it can cause some stress financially. So I'm not sure what these two look like in terms of their finances, but
they'll figure it out later.
I hope that they're able to figure it out. And the trick is, look long term. How often do you hear about professional athletes who blow through their money?
Exactly.
So Travis Kelce's a professional athlete. Yeah. You know, is this going to be a situation where they have a joint checking account and they're going to try to kind of work off off each other
points.
and find a way moving forward to make that worthwhile. So financial advisor is going to be important, and I think that's my
Yes.
number one piece of advice for Travis Kelce
Yeah.
and Taylor Swift.
They've got to be smart with their
Yeah.
money. Got a couple more. Why has Sean not seen any good movies? That's from JJ.
I
Sean,
have
why have you not seen any
a
good
lot
movies?
of very good movies.
You
I've
haven't seen Goonies?
Toy Story,
Hmm.
Toy Story 2,
Okay.
Toy Story 3.
Okay. Like Toy Story 3. And you're listing
Toy
your
Story
top 5
4,
right now. Okay, Toy Story 4, yes.
And Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans, good one. You've only seen
There's 5 movies right there.
Those are the 5 movies that he's seen. He's also seen The Sandlot and The Sandlot 2.
Yes,
mind you. Yeah, we figured out today he hasn't seen Goonies. I know. Can you believe that?
That's one of Sean. What's his face's?
Sean Astin. See, look at this.
It's one of Sean Astin's greatest works.
He's going crazy behind.
I've got that
He is
VHS. I just
Sean
don't think I've
Astin's
seen it.
biggest fan. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I think that was. I think that was
agree.
available on Netflix the same time Toy Story was, so that's why I wasn't able to.
There are a lot of things about Sean where I cannot believe I host a show with a guy who doesn't like movies and hates dogs.
See, all I ever talk smack on you about is your mustache.
That's true. That's very true.
I mean, which by the way is still there.
Your words cannot hurt me, Sean. Hey. By the way, another good one for us is Edward. He asks, has Sean and Dan played basketball 1v1 yet?
Oh, we haven't. I was just talking to one of our fabulous staff members, Robert, about that. And I said, hey, we got a one-on-one scheduled, but I think it has to happen.
I have a basketball hoop at my house. I put it up for this reason.
No, it's got to happen outdoors with a chain net. It has to. There's a what is it
in our
on
studio right
like
now.
10th and Vermont, or even we go to the park on 6th and
So
Vermont.
does it have to be a chain net? I mean, I like the sound.
I mean,
guess.
yeah. Well,
Fair enough.
believe me, you'll be hearing the sound when we go one-on-one.
We'll get this together. We'll film it and we'll put it out for the people. And then one more. Keegan says, what stat line does JD6 need to produce to be a legit Heisman finalist? I mean, all right, let's go. I'm
90% completion percentage and 36 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Right. Yeah.
He's on pace for it.
That's what he's on pace for right now. You know what? I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. No, hey, just wins. Just keep winning. And hopefully a 3-0 non-conference slate. Then if you go 3-0, pick up a big emotional victory, then you have a bye week. After that, you've got your first 2 conference games at home. That would be a pretty awesome scene at the booth. That's our KU Mailbag segment. Thank you for sending in your questions at the Kansas Nation on Twitter. Do that anytime throughout the week. We'll have this segment every Wednesday. We're going to hear from the Magic Man himself, JD6, after this. You're watching on kansasnation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City. Hey, kansasnation.com. Check it out for all coverage of KU athletics. We've got articles, highlights, interviews, everything you need to see. We're going to have special inside the booth looks as well on game day. So make sure you check us out at kansasnation.com. And if you miss anything from our show, Rock Chalk Sports, make sure you're checking out our YouTube channel. Give us a subscription. We really appreciate that. And at the Kansas Nation on Twitter, we're going to eventually be on all your socials. So make sure you find us, and we'll be excited to go through this fall sports season, which promises to be very exciting with all of you. We had Jalon Daniels available to the media earlier this week. We were happy to see him. We didn't know Wagner week if we were going to necessarily get JD, but appreciate Andy Eiche and everybody over at KU Athletics Communications for providing the star of the Jayhawks. And here's everything that JD said a couple days ago.
Yeah, the first game, what do you kind of see on film?
Seen a lot of explosiveness, a lot of effort from the guys, both sides of the field. Got the chance to be able to watch the whole game, TV copy version and all. And I just said, there's a lot of things that were being executed out there, but there's a lot of little things that you don't get the chance to see that we have to be able to clean up going into the next week.
What are some of those that maybe stand out?
Really, just shooting ourselves in the foot, to be honest. A lot of our quote-unquote negative plays were us, making mistakes that, especially in big-time games, we can't be able to afford to make those mistakes if we're trying to win.
JD, you put up video game numbers, yards, touchdowns, but how much does 18 for 20 mean to you and to a quarterback?
It means a lot, especially, you look at the 18 for 20, but I look at the fact that there was 10 different receivers who got the chance to be able to get the ball in their hands. And I think that one thing that we do offensively that helps us a lot is being able to, give the ball to different guys, because we have a lot of playmakers. If you give the ball to your playmakers in space, they'll have the chance to be able to go make plays.
Where has completion percentage ranked for you as you're developing from 5th grade all the way up to now? Where does that rank on the list of importance of stats?
It's very important, because at the end of the day, the higher your completion percentage is, the higher it shows that you're being able to make decisions, being able to give the guys in wide open space. And that's something that we need to be able to continue to keep doing.
Did you always understand that as a young quarterback even? Did you always lean on that stat, or was that something that kind of grew as you grew?
Yeah, completion percentage is definitely something that grew as I grew. I mean, I got the chance to be able to talk to you a lot my freshman year, so you got the chance to be able to, you pick my brain just a little bit as a 17-year-old. So trust me, there's been a lot of growth since being 17.
right. Jalon, that play that Cam scored both of his touchdowns on with him out of the backfield, what makes him such a threat in the slot, out of the backfield? Just how does that fit his skill set?
Yeah, I mean, he's a speedy guy. He has a lot of speed. He has a lot of abilities to be able to make things happen when the ball's in his hands, and that was just a glimpse of being able to see what else he's able to do.
Jalon, you guys got the chance to go for it fourth down a couple times. How does that give you that confidence? You get extra down to kind of go out there and do things.
I mean, it gives us all the confidence in the world. We know when we're in a 4-down situation, and that just lets us know that Coach Leipold has a lot of faith in our offense to be able to go out there and convert.
Are there any opportunity times you're like, okay, I want to go for it fourth down? You tell Coach C or Coach Leipold that?
I mean, I have the chance to be able to talk to Coach Leipold if I want to, but at the end of the day, he's the head man. I have all the faith in the world that he's going to make the best decision for the team.
All 4 tight ends got some play. What did you see out of the tight end room?
I mean, those are a bunch of guys who are eager to be able to go do whatever they have to do to be able to help the team win. I think one thing for our offense is there's a lot of selflessness no matter where the position room is. Every time they get a chance to be able to go out there and make a play, that's what they're going to go do.
What are some of the main things you're personally emphasizing heading into the Wagner game?
Just continuing to be able to keep our foot on the pedal. It doesn't matter what's going on. We have to continue to keep on, working on our craft. At the end of the day, what we do inside these buildings is what continues to make us be the offense, defense, and special teams that we are, and we have to keep on doing that with our foot on the pedal.
What do you think of getting the new dining setup?
Oh, bro, don't even get me started on the dining setup. I got in there, I was like, dang. And I got the chance to be able to see the stadium from that view. That was my first time being able to get to see it from the stands portion of it. So I came in, got me a nice little omelet. I was like, all right, let's go ahead and let's get to going.
What's your last memory going to be from the temporary spot?
You said my last memory?
Yeah, your lasting memory.
Man, it's the fact that we have some chefs that are out here being able to do everything that we want. They're taking every single piece of information that we give them. They want our opinion on everything to be able to make things better. And I think that just goes with the way we run things in our building. It's a lot of teamwork going on. It's a lot of camaraderie. And I think that just continues to allow us to be able to keep growing.
How do you prepare for Wagner with a couple of new offensive coordinators and no film because this is going to be their first game? Just what's your preparation like throughout the week?
I mean, well, for one, we're going to go based off of film that we have before. Their head coach has been there for a little bit. He's the defensive coordinator as well. So there's a lot of things that we're able to see on film from the past that we're able to continue to try to work on throughout the week, and that's what we're going to do.
Obviously, you're in a non-contact jersey during practice. How nice is it to get out there and run around a little bit, make some guys miss in full contact situation?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of new guys on our defense. So, in practice sometimes they'll be 5 yards away, tag off the air and think it's a sack. And I was like, all right, bro. I'm trying to tell y'all in the game that's not going to be a sack. So, it was great to be able to show the guys, especially the new guys, what I was talking about a little bit from practice. And I'm a football player. I love to go out there. I love to be able to make plays, make people miss, but also try to be able to get the guys to my players.
How does this offense not just fit like what you're good at, but what you like to do?
I continue to say, Coach Z knows what I'm most comfortable with. He knows where I need to improve at, and I think that's something that we continue to be able to try to keep working on. This is my 5th year with Coach Z. He was my quarterback coach for 4 years, and now he's my OC in my fifth year with him. So we got to just keep on growing in that manner.
You seemed really excited when you saw Zeke break loose on that run. What was going through your mind?
Bruh, first of all, that's my dog, bruh. Him and Cole Ballard, to be able to see their growth that they've been able to continue to keep doing them. We let Zeke get all the way to the 1 yard line, and I was just like, dang, bruh. And then the next play was taking a knee. I said, oh my God, no. But nah, I mean, it's exciting to be able to see him go out there. I actually talked to him earlier today. I was like, Zeke, that was your first time getting tackles in high school? He was like, yeah, I know, right? So, yeah, it's exciting because, the whole entire quarterback room is always going to root for whoever's out there on the field.
Thanks, Jalon.
JD6 meeting with the media a little bit earlier this week. We're going to hear next segment from a couple KU soccer players, Caroline Castans and Sophie Dawe. Sophie Dawe, only a sophomore, but one of the best goalkeepers in the country, no doubt. KU soccer tomorrow night, Rock Chalk Park, 7 o'clock, hosting number 2 Florida State. KU is 3-0-1, and that'll be a blast. Pack the park, they're saying, over at RCP. Get back to JD real quick, though, before we kick it to break. Dan, you had a chance to be over with JD while I was talking with Daniel Highshaw. Your takeaways from everything he said about his week 0 performance?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was just really happy about it and really happy to be able to actually play in Coach Zebrowski's offense. And something that I pulled out of it, and this is going to be relevant to this week 2 game, or I guess technically week 1 game. It's all confusing with the week 0s and the week 1 game 2 for Kansas against Wagner. Is he was so amped up about Cole Ballard and Zeke Marshall getting in the game, and you can tell that quarterback room just really, really enjoys each other's time. And so that's something that I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see Cole Ballard and Zeke Marshall out there making plays against Wagner, and it's cool to see JD as well being like, look, yeah, those are my guys. They're really good, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch. But look, if JD can maintain this momentum, now I'm not saying that 90% and 3 touchdowns is going to be the default for JD, but if he's able to maintain this amount of momentum, back to Keegan's question about the stat line that JD needs to have in order to be a legit Heisman finalist. I mean, right now, if he continues to even go just above 80% on his completion rate, I'll even say 76% on his completion rate. If he's able to do that, then I think he has a legitimate case for being in that Heisman candidacy as well. We'll see how much he actually does get to play in this Wagner game. Like you said, last year got taken out pretty early in the Lindenwood game. He also threw an interception in that Lindenwood game as well. But this is a different JD. We're not seeing the JD who's trying to play hero ball, who's trying to force those big plays. We're seeing his calm, cool collectedness and making those right decisions. And I think that's going to carry over for Jalon Daniels. So really excited for the future and in this last year of what's going to be an illustrious career for JD6.
And the Heisman race, when we're talking statistically, absolutely, that'd be fantastic if he's able to put up a 75% completion rate, or even 70% will be awesome. Limit the turnovers. But if you're going to be in the conversation to win the Heisman or be a Heisman finalist, your team has to win. And Kansas, if they're going to win a lot, then Jalon Daniels is going to be a big reason why. And I think they just go hand in hand. So if KU is able to go out and win 9-10 games this season, be in the Big 12 championship, be in the conversation for the college football playoff, then JD is going to be in that conversation. And like I said, they do go hand in hand because you're really not going to have one without the other. If KU is going to reach their lofty goals, the number 6 is going to be a big reason why. Tomorrow, we're going to hear from DK McDonald, KU's defensive coordinator. Plus, we'll hear from safety Lyric Rawls, who had an acrobatic interception on a ball that was batted up from a Fresno State receiver. And as DK McDonald said earlier this week, and you'll hear tomorrow, good things happen when you run to the ball. After this, though, we are going to hear from Caroline Castans and Sophie Dawe of KU Soccer. We'll also update you on the Royals as well. You're watching KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City. KansasNation.com. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports. Dan Courtwright alongside myself, Sean Kellerman. Thank you for tuning in. We have got all sorts of coverage on KansasNation.com. Check us out. And if you miss anything, give us a subscription on YouTube. You can catch all of our shows on a video cast on YouTube. And eventually we're going to have podcast audio only available as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. So real quick on the Royals, they had a huge not loss last night, as I said a little bit earlier. Down 4-0 through 7 against the White Sox. Royals came back and won 5-4. Michael Garcia, a big 2-run single. Michael Massey, who is from Chicago and always plays well against the White Sox, first game back from the IL, had a 2-run single to tie the game as well. Kyle Isbell, the game-winning hit, and that was big because now the Royals tonight can win the series, which needs to happen. They're 3 back of the wild card. Mariners lost yesterday, but Seattle is leading San Diego right now 4-2. So the Royals are that first team out right now, 3 back, a month plus to go, but important to get the series tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly have to think that they have to get this series tonight. And, you know, looking at the pitching staff, as of right now, they're doing relatively okay. I believe the Royals have around a 20-ish% chance of making that playoff. So they have to be able to finish this strong. Again, there's not a lot of games left in the season as of right now, and you got to play your best baseball heading in when there's a race for that pennant. So really looking forward to seeing how the Royals are going to be able to close this out. Carlos Esteves has been relatively okay. His stats are really good, even though he's blown a couple of games, but we'll certainly see.
Yeah, Royals obviously haven't had Cole Reagans for quite some time. They do have Ryan Berger, who they brought over at the deadline for Freddie Fermin from San Diego. He is on the mound tonight against Aaron Savale for the White Sox. 6:40 first pitch. KU soccer, a huge one tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Rock Chalk Park against the number 2 ranked Florida State Seminoles. Let's hear from a couple Jayhawks, defender Caroline Castans and goalkeeper Sophie Dawe.
I think that food is in the past. Food was prior.
Hi. Good. How are you?
All right, guys. We got Caroline Castans and Sophie Dawe here. Just go ahead and raise your hand and ask away.
Yeah, just for either of you, both serving as team captains this year, what's that role been like so far?
Just getting everybody on the same page, buying into our concepts, like getting our culture in line with, especially like we have a lot of new girls, so just getting that all handled and getting on the same page with everything, starting out the season strong.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, just having a lot of new girls, just getting everyone on the same page and getting us all together as a team and getting energy high, keeping it high throughout practice, games, travel, everything like that.
You guys, Coach Lee and you guys as a team, obviously try to focus on everything being sort of the same. Next minute is the same as the last. Each game's the same. Focus, focus, focus. Is it hard to do when you're playing a team like you're playing on Thursday? Highly ranked, big moment, big exposure, all that. Are you able to stay on that same sort of level phase of looking forward to that?
I think so. I think when we're on the field, you kind of just look to your teammates to the left and the right and just be there for them, stay on the same page, kind of just stay focused, locked in.
Yeah, I think it honestly helps playing a team like Florida State who's ranked high, like playing a team that's going to give you their all and be a very competitive match, I think honestly helps keep you focused and keep you motivated.
Is there any different feel about it, at least at this point?
I mean, I think our team does a good job of looking at every opponent, like they're going to give us their all because they will. So, I mean, I think we're going into this week with doing what we normally do, practicing like we normally practice, and just know that we're going to get a good match on Thursday.
What did you take away from that score withdrawal at Utah State?
I mean, it was a tough game, like first game on the road. I think mentally it's a little bit different than home games. I definitely think we had a lot more in us, but just kind of learning from that and moving on to the next game.
Yeah, I don't think anyone likes to tie. Everyone wants to win, but I think tying that game showed us a few aspects of our game that we can improve on and work on. So, I mean, we would have loved to win, but I think it did help us just expose some things that we need to work on this week.
What are some of those things?
I think as a team, sometimes we can stay more connected, or just like working on that. Utah State did good at closing the middle, and so we couldn't go through the middle, and so working on using our width and things like that, I think we can work on a little bit more.
Sophie, you've had some playing experience playing with some players who are going to be on this Florida State team. What do you sort of know about them going in?
I'd say they're definitely locked in with everything they do, like every little detail. Florida State's definitely a team where if you're not locked in all 90 minutes, like you'll be punished, and so just staying with that.
Yeah. For both of you, you've talked about sort of this culture building, the culture of the team. What do you think the culture of Kansas soccer is like?
I think over everything, unified. It's all a family, so just sticking together no matter what happens.
Yeah, I think we've done good, or just having a year with these coaches. I think they've done a good job at making us a unified group and letting us have a lot of grit too, and just keeping us together.
I know you guys are busy with practice and class and everything else, but volleyball fans, either of you?
Yes.
Okay, friends on the team perhaps even? Right? Did you watch last night?
I did not, which makes me feel like a fake fan. But
you're busy.
Yeah.
So, but I guess the reason I ask is because they're playing number 2 Penn State last night, taking the 5 sets, have a chance to win, just showing well, really got people's attention for them. I wonder if you can kind of take anything from that and sort of say, like, win or lose, as long as we put a good effort out there on Thursday, people are going to pay attention. Does that matter? Is that a thing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I was saying, it would be great to win, but playing well is also very important, and just sets you up for the rest of the season. But I mean, I think soccer is a crazy game, like every sport, and anyone can win. So I'm just excited for this Thursday.
Just double down on everything we do, stick to our concepts, and just be ourselves.
I saw they put a post out telling people to pack the park. I'm just wondering what a good fan turnout would do for you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, having a good fan turnout would be amazing. Please come to support. It's always fun when our supporters are out there, especially on a Thursday night game under the lights. It's a really fun experience. So, I mean, yeah.
I think it just adds to the energy and makes it more exciting and just,
Where are you guys at overall? You get the 5 goals on opening night, and you haven't had 5 cents. I get that, but is it frustrating that you're not clicking offensively and pouring in goals like maybe it looked like you were going to, or is it just part of the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of the process. You're going to have high games and you're going to have a little bit lower games. But I think even though we haven't been like scoring as much in the past 2 games, we've been doing better at other concepts like playing through the midfield or just like playing through the back. Those have improved. So we are seeing progress.
Yeah, I think we're focusing on being patient, just like knowing that they'll come.
How much of that is from last year? You had to be patient all the way last year until play in your heads? Are you still thinking about that, or is that gone?
I would say just like carrying those positives in, like it helps to have that kind of experience. Right. So you kind of have like something to build off and like talk about, especially with like newcomers.
Yeah, just having that experience last year of how we started off a little slow and then obviously ended really well. Just knowing that it's a marathon, like it's a long season, so just taking little wins and celebrating the little wins is important.
Temperature change do anything for you?
Gosh, I love it so much. It's awesome.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's easier to play too, I would think.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah, any other questions? All right, it's a good one, man.
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question.
That's Caroline Castans, a junior defender for KU Soccer, and Sophie Dawe, sophomore goalkeeper. Huge match tomorrow at Rock Chalk Park. Get out and support. 7 o'clock, RCP, KU, and number 2, Florida State. On tomorrow's show, we are going to hear from Nate Lee, who is great with the media, like all of KU's coaches, and another great hire for Travis Goff. We've actually talked to him on air 3 different times, and he has brought KU Soccer to a new height, Dan, and just really hoping for the best tomorrow because this is a special opportunity getting to host such a highly ranked team.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, in the short amount of time that he's been here, I mean, how many people – actually, I can tell you how many people who have won a Big 12 championship in their first year. It's been 0 until Nate Lee did it last year. He, like you said, he's brought this team to new heights and created a new standard, I think, for Kansas soccer, which I think is the important thing, right? Kansas soccer has never been known to be a powerhouse, and I think Nate Lee, in this short amount of time that he's been here at the very beginning of year 2 for Nate Lee, he has brought them to excellence, and I think that's very important for him, and it's just another testament to Travis Goff and everything that he has been able to do in terms of hiring these coaches. You saw the track record he had at Xavier, bringing that to Kansas, bringing that track record, and having a ton of really good recruits as well already committed to Kansas is just absolutely been huge. So be sure to get out there tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Pack the park. Discounted beverages is that's what's floating around.
Is that something you might be interested in?
That is something that I might be interested in, even though probably be in the box. But at the same time, get out there and support your Lady Jayhawks as they try to take on the number 2 team in the nation, Florida State.
Yeah, Friday, we, of course, are going to have a short show. Obviously, KU football plays on Friday. So if you're listening on ESPN Kansas City, you're, of course, going to have Kansas football coverage beginning at 5 o'clock with the Crimson and Blue Show with Brian, DL, and Brandon McAnderson. Tomorrow's show, we will, like I said, hear from Nate Lee. We're also going to hear from KU football defensive coordinator DK McDonald and safety Lyric Rawls, who had that interception. KU was +3 in the week 0 victory, the turnover battle, 31-7 over Fresno State. Big thanks to Gabe Boucher, our producer engineer. For Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman signing off. We'll catch you tomorrow on Kansas Nation. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City.